Hello everyone, this is Ants Portugal here, and today we're going to talk about a new species of ant, because today we're here for Ant Care Species Guide, episode number 3. Now, today we're here to talk about a species of ant called Pristomyrmex punctatus. And as you know, we need Jeff to tell us how it is supposed to be said. Jeff, take it, my man.
Pristomyrmex punctatus.
Thanks, bud. Now, Pristomyrmex punctatus is a queenless ant, as all species from the genus Pristomyrmex are. But from the genus Pristomyrmex punctatus is the only species that can actually have queens. These queens are called ergatoid queens, and ergatoid means a queen that is not winged. It has no wings because it never has to leave the nest for nuptial flight. Now, I'll try to explain to you exactly how these species works, because it's very important for you that wants to keep them. Now, in Pristomyrmex punctatus, every worker is born fertile. Every worker is born capable of producing fertile eggs that will develop into workers. Once they do, they basically all reproduce, and if they're young, they'll stay inside the nest, producing eggs and taking care of the brood. If they're old, they'll be out foraging, as their fertile capabilities have started to wear off. So what you have when you have a colony of these is an outworld filled with very curious little old girls, and a nest filled with very hard-working at egg-laying tasks little young girls. So this is very interesting, because almost no species of ant is queenless, and these ones, not only are they queenless, as they can also have queens. These queens never go outside. They work like normal queens. They stay inside and they lay eggs. But they're not the only ones laying eggs. Even if an ergatoid queen exists, all the young workers will lay eggs. This queen is just a little bit bigger than the average worker, and has an abdomen that is a little bit enlarged. Now, in every colony of Pristomyrmex punctatus, there are males, just normal male ants walking around and fertilizing whatever needs to be fertilized. In the wild, it's very hard to study these species, because as they can have no queens, you never know what is a satellite nest and what is an entire colony. And they live primarily in China, Japan, and they're very hard to study, and they are a very recently discovered species. They were avidly studied in 2003, which is basically yesterday in science terms, and they have started to be kept in the hobby very, very recently. So you don't really have a big Pristomyrmex punctatus colony in anyone that at least tells the world about it, at least that I could find. I've done a very, very thorough and hard research for this episode, because I'm actually getting a colony of 100 plus workers of Pristomyrmex punctatus somewhere this month, this January. And I want to be completely informed, and I want to tell you about all the research I've done, and I will update you on this colony and on every colony I have as soon as I can. I'll show it all to you. Now, back to Pristomyrmex punctatus. They can have a colony well into the tens of thousands of workers, as they are basically ever growing, and basically one colony can be immortal, because for every worker that dies, a load of them are born. And each worker is not a menacing force per se. They cannot sting, and they are 3 to 4 millimeters in length. They don't have really massive mandibles or anything. They can't pierce through human skin. They don't even use formic acid in an offense or defense position. They are strong in numbers, and they are strong in survival capability, because even if you destroy part of a nest, even if you and what I mean is there's no queen to to, if the queen dies, the colony will die. If an attack happens and the queen dies, the colony will die. No, if an attack happens and some of the egg-laying girls die, there will be more. So it's very hard to eradicate a colony without doing it on purpose. So these guys have a very interesting behavior that I should probably talk about, which is that they are very, very, very aggressive toward prey items. I've actually had a colony of these, but I gave it away, so when it comes to behavior, I know what I'm talking about. They are very, very aggressive towards prey items and every piece of food you put inside their outworld, but they are pretty much just completely not capable of doing any sort of harm to a human being. And they tend to just walk along your finger, your hand, and try to bite down a few times, and once they realize they can't, they'll just walk on you like you're a piece of wood or rock. This species has a very, very acquired taste for sweet goods. If you have raw honey or if you have sugar water inside of their enclosure, they'll be on it. They'll be on top of it, drinking it, slurping it up. They love it. They just swarm it. I don't know why this is, but out of all the ants I had, they seem to have a collective interest in sweets. Even more so than any other ants I have kept. So you have to pay attention to some stuff with these ants, as they are so resourceful and so hardy that it's hard to forget what could be going wrong. You have to pay attention that they live in sort of semi-tropical areas. They need a high humidity. I'd say keep the nest at about 70%. If you read percentages, give them 70%. If you don't, if you give them the gradient, which is what I stand for in ant keeping, you should always give them a gradient to let them choose. They will choose for you, and it'll be okay. Now they don't store anything inside the nest. They usually eat outside and bring the food inside of their social stomachs, and then via trophallaxis, which is the process by which one eusocial insect transfers food from the social stomach to another eusocial insect from the same colony, mouth-to-mouth transfer. It's called trophallaxis, as I've said. And they usually don't carry stuff inside, but I guess each colony is a colony, and if yours carries stuff inside, don't worry about it. One other thing you should pay attention to is temperature. I sort of forgot when I talked about humidity, but temperature is important as they are subtropical, I'd say. And also, when it comes to temperature, just give them a gradient. I don't really want to touch on this topic, but when you have these two parameters, humidity and temperature, they're not a separate thing, right? If you have less humidity, the changes in temperature will be very much more noticeable. If you have a higher humidity, the differences in temperature will be less noticeable. And if you have a higher humidity, the absolute temperature you're at will be much more, I guess, effective, because when it drops in the night or when it drops in the winter, it will drop slower because of the humidity. So the more humidity an ant needs, the less you have to preoccupy yourself about heat. But at the same time, the more heat you have, the more you need to worry about humidity, because heat will disperse humidity and dry out your nest. So just give them a gradient and make sure the gradient exists. Make sure the wet side is wet Make sure the hot side is hot, and make sure the cold side is cold, the dry side is dry. They don't really need a dry side as they are subtropical. But still, keep them somewhere from 60% to 80%. You know, that will be fine. And just, if you keep their diets... Now, this is what I love, is that if you keep their diet varied, you give them fruits, sweets, you can even give them you can give them every type of protein that they can get into. You know, if they can get through the shell that contains the protein, they'll eat it all, because they're small ants. They'll pick from every little bit. So just give them protein and sweets, and they'll be completely fine. Give them the gradient they need in temperature and humidity, and they will just thrive for you. They'll just thrive to the moon and back, because they grow fast as hell. They multiply like little small, very fast multiplying rabbits. And that's a weird comparison, but they do grow fast, and they do grow to a big number of ants. But don't let this scare you, as my last 2 episodes were on Camponotus and Messer species, and both of the ones I did got into the 10,000 mark normally as a mature colony. And they are big ants. I mean, both of them can get really big majors in there, and you need a very big setup to contain them. But Pristomyrmex punctatus, they have maximum 4 millimeters. So give them the right temperature and humidity, but the setup doesn't have to be big. They'll do with where they can fit, you know. So just pay attention to the parameters, pay attention to their food, because they may seem small and they may seem like they don't eat a lot of food, but they do. They eat a lot of food. As I have said in the last episode, always be careful, because if you give them too much food, it's not that they'll eat themselves to death. It's just the food will get moldy and produce fungus. If you keep on putting it in and taking it out after a day or two, you can put how much, you can put as much food as you want. Just don't let any food sit in the outworld. My rule of thumb would be 2 days. But things like egg, for example, all ant species love hard-boiled egg. Don't leave egg inside of the enclosure more than, I'd say, 24 hours. If you do, you'll be in trouble. It's not the ants, but you'll be in trouble, because it will smell horribly bad, especially if the enclosure is hot and humid. Now, this species is awesome, and I just can't wait to receive mine. And I just want them so much. I have a few enclosure ready. I'll try which one will they be best in, and this time I'll do a video showing where I house them and how I do that. That'll be a fun video to make, and that'll be a fun video for you to watch. So this is it, guys. Ant care species guide number 3. Pristomyrmex punctatus is a very, very awesome species of ant. I hope you liked it. And if you have any questions or anything else you want to add to this video, just go down to the comment section and leave a comment down below. I'll get back at you as soon as I can. If you liked it, leave a like. And if you enjoy the content I've been making, please share my channel with a friend or two, or I don't know how many friends you want. Just help my channel grow, because I'll keep doing this. I'll keep doing very relaxed, chill videos on whatever topics I want to do about animals that I have, mainly ants, but I'll diversify after a while. So just share it with whomever you think would be interested in this. And that's it for me. Bye bye. I hope you enjoyed. See ya.